And we're doing it again. This is once again another ASMR. Very close talking, very soft pillow talk intro to SUPcast number 62, I believe. We did Mikey Clark was 60, and then Reed from We Are the Union was 61. I believe this is 62. Yes. My name is Neil Patterson, and we are back, baby. We're freaking back. I remember when the pan sandwich first happened, and I made a podcast in the bathroom of my then apartment in Long Beach, California. And I remember being scared as fuck. I just got off tour with Guttermouth, and all of a sudden, like, all of the plans that I had, whether it was touring or getting together and talking to people and doing the podcast or fucking anything, it all just was out the window. It became this scared thing. And I was freaked the fuck out. I remember telling my girlfriend that we just need to go to Michigan. We had just signed a lease in Long Beach, and I was like, let's get the fuck out of here. I need to go protect my mother from COVID. And she convinced me to stay, so we spent a whole year in that apartment in Long Beach. And yeah, and it's just wild because this is the first in-person SUPcast that I've done since the pan sandwich happened. And so we're talking like that was episode 20 something, and now we're on episode 60 something. So if you do the math, what's 60 minus 20? That's like 40 remote Zoom call episodes of the podcast, besides the ones where it's just like me talking in the van by myself or whatever. So if you think about it, most of this podcast has actually been like remote Zoom type shit. And so we're getting back into almost uncharted territory because the majority of the fucking podcast was all done during the pandemic and all done on Zoom. And it felt so good to sit next to my friend, Mr. Ken Haas from the Reverend Guitars company, the company Reverend Guitars. And that's the company that I endorse, the guitars that I play. I play Reverend Guitars. And I got to sit with him, and we talked about live music, and we talked about a bunch of shit. And it was so nice because, dude, when you're talking to someone on Zoom, it's like you talk and then they talk. And if you like laugh or respond to something that they're saying while they're saying it, they like stop because they think you're trying to interject. It's like, no, I'm not trying to interject. I'm just trying to say yeah or laugh or say haha. And there's just such a more natural flow to talking with a human being when you're fucking sitting right next to them and when you don't have headphones on. And the other thing I was noticing too is Ken kept touching me, and he was like, you know, he's like, was getting into what he was saying, and he was grabbing me and hitting me, and he grabbed my hand at one point. He's like hitting my leg, you know, we talk about kissing. And it's just like, dude, that's the type of shit that you can do in person. Like, I don't know if you ever saw the Wacko episode of this podcast, but it was like 7 people in my van, and everyone's passing around the microphone like a fucking liquor bottle. And it was just the best. It's such a good vibe, and it's just makes so much more sense when you're communicating with human beings to be in the fucking room with them. And because the pan sandwich is kind of coming to what seems like a conclusion and shows are coming back and whatnot, I can do this fucking podcast again with people like in the same room. So I'm stoked. I'm not going to talk too much longer, but really, we're fucking ramping up with this Patreon thing. There's so many good things happening in my life right now. And so, this podcast is back in person, and you really should support it on the Patreon, patreon.com/Neil P. Neil P. You get all the episodes before they come on YouTube, before they're available to the public. And this is a great interview with a good friend of mine and someone that has supported my musical endeavors for, going on fucking 15, 16, 17, maybe 18 years. So a lot of history, great dude, great stories, and a real fucking DIY business owner, and someone that actually gives a fuck about what he's doing, what he's creating, and the quality and craftsmanship that goes into it. And that's why Reverend Guitars are sold out until 2022. Because this dude has been busting his ass building this brand from what it was into what it is now, with Joe Naylor designing all the guitars. And he'll go into all of it. But dude, the SUPcast is back. In People Shit is back. This is the first podcast after the fucking pan sandwich where I actually talked to an actual human being. And this person was touching me. Not only physically touching me with their extremities, but this person touched me with his words and his stories. Here's the SUPcast with fucking Ken Haas from Reverend Guitars. Let's go. We used to do this podcast in the van. Oh, hey.
Yeah, I've seen it.
What's up? Hey, how you doing? Hey, my name is Neil Patterson. I'm a guy, and this is the first in-person podcast, SUPcast, that we've done since the pan sandwich happened back in March of 2020. And now I'm in person with my friend Ken Haas of Reverend Guitars, and we're in the Reverend fucking studio. Reverend... What is this, a facility? Is it a headquarters, warehouse? All the above, correct?
Yeah, all that. This is Reverend World Headquarters, and we are sitting in our demo room where I do live broadcasts weekly, Friday at 11 a.m., sitting in the chair that you're sitting in right now, so you're totally throwing off my entire vibe.
I stole his chair.
It's crazy. But yeah, no, that's where you are. And then we do all kinds of fun stuff in this room. This is a great room. As you could tell. I mean, obviously, this is a great room. Look at these amps. Look at the high watt. Look, my stage rig is out. See? There's all kinds of cool shit going on around here. Told you.
So yeah, Ken and I met in, I don't know, it was early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
Through a mutual friend named Sue Summers, who runs a record label out of Detroit called Static Records, who also put out Downtown Brown, my silly band's first record, Moist and Ridiculous, in the year 2002.
Yeah.
And do you remember when we met, dude?
She put out my band, The Culture Bandits, first records in the 90s, like 1990, probably. 89, 90, I started working with Sue. So that was what brought us together. Yeah, I don't remember. We got thrown on some random show together, probably for a charity or something. I think, and the charity was us, because those shows.
Yeah, well, we needed all the charity we could get.
Yeah, it's true.
So I remember my most vivid remembrance of the early days of meeting you was at the Bottle Rocket.
Oh, wow.
And
so I was full on in Kids from Krypton by the time you and I started hanging out together. And that was probably where we met, because I'd heard about you from Sue, and then you guys came down to Toledo, and you probably played over at the main event with Kids from Krypton.
Actually, it was
blah, 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 blah.
It was All-Star Has-Beens.
Holy shit.
That was the first time I ever played on a stage on the same bill. And I actually still have the poster. It was some like anime lady, and it said All-Star Has-Beens, and then it was a band that started with CH.
No idea.
Corvairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was at a place called the Bottle Rocket in Toledo, which was an upstairs bar that had a gnarly fucking staircase. And I was drinking a lot back then. I was blacking out a lot back then. But I remember y'all did Purple Rain with the All-Star Has-Beens, and I remember just being like, that guy rips on the fucking guitar. And then flash forward 2010, I'm opening for Mike Watt. And Ken's at the show because, of course, it's fucking Mike Watt. And I'm with Downtown Brown. And Ken's like, yo, you should be playing Reverend Guitars. And then the rest is history. I've been playing Reverend Guitars since 2010.
Yeah, we got you a Sensei.
Yeah.
And some Vs.
Yeah.
And you're still playing a Sensei and a V.
This is true.
Yeah. Well, and I got you off those EMGs too. We got you into the Railhammer pickups. That all happened. Yeah, tight bottom end, which works great for the funk thing that you do, like your clean tone thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like we can nail that.
Yeah.
And then still have all that compression on the lows for when you go to the super high gain thing, which was the Downtown Brown thing. So when I saw you doing the clean gain, cleaned it like the funk clean to the super metal gain, I was like, shit, he should be using our stuff, because this is all, we do that.
Well, the funniest part about the whole EMG thing, and for those of you listening to this podcast, we're gonna get really nerdy on this podcast about guitar shit. So this is the fucking dad podcast, the fucking guitar podcast.
Is this thing falling?
What is
this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's drooping.
Crank this.
I'm cranking it. There we go.
Bitch.
All right, there it is.
Crank this bitch.
There it is.
Okay, so anyway, I remember I have a JCM 900, which is a 100-watt dual reverb head from Marshall, and I remember being like, "There's not enough gain. I got to get more gain out of this." But it has enough gain. I was just stupid and young, so I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna get a sonic maximizer," which you know,
the BBE thing,
yeah, you know what that thing does.
Sure.
And then I was like looking at Zach Wild. I'm like, I'm gonna get some active pickups, but I didn't know anything about guitars. I just wanted it to fucking be more metal. You know, so here I am playing these EMG pickups, and little did I know And because I can A and B it now. We did a live record where I had the fucking EMG pickups, and then we did a live record in 2017 called Hot Part where I have the rail hammers, and it's like, oh.
Like your guitar sounds warmer, but yet still has all the definition.
So explain the difference between active hardware and what y'all are doing with the rail hammers.
Well, I don't want to get like really boring and get into the technical aspect of it, but the reality of it is that in my opinion, all right, you can put EMGs in anything and it makes everything sound the same. So you can have like the greatest, most resonant guitar in the world, and you can have the biggest boat anchor, most non-resonant guitar in the world, and you put EMG pickups in it, and they're just like the great equalizer, because at some point you're no longer listening to the guitar, you're just listening to the pickups. And so, in my opinion, and rail hammers let the natural tone and resonance of the guitar sort of come through, as all passive pickups do. But they work, and it's just, they're cool, man. I mean, and we wind them very, very hot, so they have output that can compete. That Anvil pickup has the same kind of output that compete with the kind of output that you get in active pickups, but still retain some of the warmth and the clarity of the electric guitar, because that's what you're supposed to do. It's no different. The funny thing about guitar shit with me, Neil, is people think that there's a right or wrong. And there's no right or wrong. You know, I choose to use old tube amps and passive pickups. I know guys that use some of my endorsers, and we put Fishman Fluence pickups in some of our guitars now, and they like to use the active pickups into like digital amplifiers, and these guys sound great. I can't make myself sound great through that gear. I've tried, but there's just something about it that doesn't connect with me. But I recognize that that's me and not necessarily everybody else in the world, you know. And now in this day and age, and especially with all the, what did you call it? What do you call all this COVID shit that we did last year? The pan what?
The pan sandwich.
The pan sandwich.
Or the pandemonium, or the panoramic.
Yeah, everybody built a recording studio in their house, and everybody's running direct into it all, and that's just not my world.
Right.
I do this.
Right.
You know, and so
you're an analog guy.
Well, yeah, but and not like militantly.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just what I do. I won't make time to do what you're doing here. You know what I mean? Like, I have guys that do that for me, as you can, there's all the, there it all is. Go ahead, show them. There it all is over there. We do all that here. Right. I don't know how to do it. Yeah. I stand here and talk.
But I mean, you're in a position where you can find people to help you do this type of shit that you don't have time to learn how, because there's a learning curve.
No, we're going back to this old like Rollins quote thing. It's not that I don't have time; it's that I won't make time. Yeah, right. You either do or you don't. Right. I choose not to.
You have shit you'd rather be doing.
That.
And because honestly, when the pan sandwich and the COVID hit, there was about a year learning curve where I had to learn how to live stream, and I had to learn about OBS, and I had to learn about bitrate and all this bullshit. And you know what? There's a million things I'd rather be doing. I'd rather be playing Super Nintendo or jerking off or eating pizza. But this is the thing, is I want to make shit, and no one's gonna do it for me because I'm just a guy.
Right.
So that's how I look at it. I just had to teach myself this shit. And plus, Harry Bob is like, you should do a podcast. And because you know some interesting people. And Ken Haas is one of those fucking interesting people. So here we are. Dude, I can't even express to you, being live with a human being after a fucking year and a half of this pan sandwich, pansexual, whatever the fuck you want to call it. This is a beautiful thing. I'm losing my mind. We're at Reverend headquarters. I'm a happy guy. And so Ken, let's go back.
It's coming back.
Dude, we're back. We're back. So Ken, let's go back in time.
Okay.
To when did Reverend start? How did it start? And I think, is there some of the old models lying around here?
Kinda.
Okay, but let just give me like a brief history on the company and how you got involved.
Well, all right. So Reverend was founded in 1997 by a guy named Joe Naylor. His name is on that amp over there.
Yeah.
He did amps before Reverend. In 97, he had the idea to make a guitar with a non-traditional body design close up on that orange one behind you.
That's
And the outside of the body is a mold injected plastic ring, and the tops and the backs are like a phenolic sort of countertop. They are really super cool guitars. That guitar you were just looking at belonged to Ron Ashton of the Stooges. There's a picture of him playing that guitar at Pine Knob up in Detroit on one of the Stooges reunion tours. Another thing, bringing Watt back into the fold. See how everything comes back to Watt all the time.
Watt is the great connector. Watt is the glue.
It is.
Allie, just to make sure it's recording, the record button's on, correct? Okay, I know. You should give me that look. I just want to. I'm OCD.
Oh, she is gonna hit you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
gonna hold you when she does.
And that's the thing too, is we got Allie back in the fold, because when I first started the podcast, Allie was gracious enough to film all of these weird bands in LA in the van with me, and now we're in like
wow.
This is way better than the van, Ken. So yeah, go back to Joe Naylor.
I've been in your band. So this guitar was cool. It lasted 5 or 6, 7 years. We basically manufactured and sold as many of them as we were going to. They're not quite aggressive enough for metal. They're not quite bright enough for traditional country. So they fall in this sort of middle ground that really competes with like, custom shops and PRS and stuff like that. And those guys didn't get it because they wanted to spend way too much money on guitars. And so Joe started looking to do something that was a little bit more traditional with some solid wood stuff. And so at the time we were doing those, we were having the necks and the pickups manufactured by a company in South Korea called Mir Music. And they built for us and Italia and a few other brands that I'm not supposed to mention that say they come from other countries and don't. And they do amazing work. And they were doing the necks and pickups for us. So Joe went to them with a couple of original body designs, 2 of which are behind you. This is a newer model called the Crosscut, but that is our Charger body, and then the Jetstream body. And Mir made us a couple guitars, and we very quickly realized that they kind of blew away what we were doing. Oh, wow. Just to have a solid body guitar with Joe's pickup designs really took it off. So I started with Joe as an endorser when I was playing in that Kids from Krypton band and in the Culture Bandits in the late 90s. I was using the older models, and Joe and I started becoming really good friends. And then I have this like sales thing. So he started taking me to trade shows, and I would close people and do sales, and Joe knew all the technical stuff.
Right.
And the two of us figured out that we worked really well together in like a trade show capacity. Yeah. And then that led to me coming on as his full-time sales director in 2006, around the time that we launched the new line and the new models.
Yeah.
And then in 2008, we had that sort of hard economic reset. And at the time, we were only dealing with like independent music stores, and about 35 to 40% of our stores went out of business.
Oh, shit.
And we were kind of hurting. And Joe designs guitars, and so he was kind of sick of running the business aspect of this thing, like payroll and taxes and all that shit. And I and my wife Penny, we were just stupid enough to buy the company from him in 2010. Well, he was looking to sell the company because he was tired of it, and he was tired of running the business. Loves designing guitars, but was looking for somebody else to run the business. And we had a few people look at it. And I know the reality of that, and Joe knew the reality of that. I mean, some big company comes in and buys your brand, and then you become a family in their family of brands and shit. And then, and they would say to us, well, Joe, we're going to keep you on to design guitars. And Ken, you have all the artist contacts, and you know all the dealers. We're going to keep you on to do that. Yeah. But then they have people that do that. So within a year, who knows where we would have been. So we made Joe an offer, which probably wasn't what he was looking for, but I guaranteed him lifetime employment with us because I don't design guitars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Joe and I need each other. And so Joe and I did this thing, and I love telling people this story because I think this is fucking unreal. I don't think this ever happens.
Yeah.
So I was friends with Joe, like really good friends. And then I went to work for him, and that didn't fuck that up. And then those roles switched. And now, he works for us.
Yeah.
And that didn't fuck that up. And Naylor and I are still really good friends. He still makes me laugh in a way that fucking no other human being can. Like he's fucking hilarious. And then once he got out from underneath of having to run the day-to-day of the business and back to designing guitars, his shit exploded. And between 2010 and now, he's done the best design work of his life. I mean, look at all of the bass when we reintroduced the basses in 2011.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of the signature models and stuff that we've done. So we do this really cool thing, not to like get off on all the fucking sales guy stuff.
Get off.
But I mean, here,
time to get off.
If you were to ask me, like say to me, dude, what sets Reverend apart from other guitar manufacturers?
Can I ask you that? What sets Reverend apart from other guitar manufacturers?
I'm so glad you asked me that.
Let's get into it.
Because like we do this really cool thing. We are living in the signature model era of guitar building, right? Like everybody's got a signature model or 10, you know?
Yeah.
And what I find that happens with that I think is ridiculous is we're going to bring the whole thing back to Watt. All right. So when I asked Watt if we could build his signature model, Watt's his initial response to me was, well, a lot of people have asked me.
Right.
You know, but I kind of have my thing that I do and my tone that I do, and it's real kind of specific to me. And so you guys make great basses, and brother, you know, I love brother Joe, and there's a connection. Watt's, one of Watt's business associates is one of Naylor's cousins, Mike Naylor out in California.
Okay.
And so there's like a family thing that goes on with them too. And so, you know, Mike loves Joe and liked us and liked me. And it was like, yeah, but I kind of into my thing. And what I said to Mike was, no. We want to make that. I don't want to like put your name on something that we make.
Yes.
What I want is for you to tell me your favorite thing about every bass that you've ever played so far, and then what they're missing. And when you pick it up, what would make a bass the bass that you went to every time, and that's the bass that we want to make and sell to your fans. It doesn't matter how oddly specific it is.
Yeah.
Even if it only sells good to you, because you're a legend, and so there's going to be people out there that are going to want to play the bass that you designed. And Joe has this unique ability to listen to what these guys say.
Yeah.
And then turn that into sound. Like Joe knows bodywoods and pickup windings and magnets and outputs and
magnets
and electronic. Yeah, I know how do they work.
Yeah.
All of that, Joe knows. And so he can listen to these guys talk, and even and believe me, like working with somebody like Watt or Pete Anderson or Billy Corgan, they say some crazy shit.
Right.
You know, when we were working on the Corgan signature model, Billy, we had the guitar done, we had the body design. Everything was done with the guitar, and we were testing it on stage, and he's running through his live rig at Pine Knob, what they call something else, but I think
DTE Energy Music Theater, and it's in Clarkston, Michigan.
Old guys call it Pine Knob.
Yeah, we call it Pine Knob because we used to see Maiden there back in the fucking 2000s.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. I
so
saw Maiden
back in the 80s. Back in the 80s, but okay.
No, he's a little older than me, but
just a little.
In the early 2000s, I saw fucking Motorhead, Maiden, and Dio all on the same bill at Pine Knob. So anyway, go ahead.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was great.
Billy's playing this guitar, it's running all this gain, and he looks at Naylor, he's like, we're like this close. It just like, it sounds really good, and I really like the string to string clarity, but the guitar really needs to have more of that like Sabbath, like that mud, that initial like thud.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to Billy describe this to Joe. I'm standing there and I'm like, what the fuck is this talking about? What's he talking about? You know? And Naylor turns to me, he's like, I got it. And then we go home. Because I'm thinking he just said he liked the clarity, but didn't want it to be as clear. Is what I heard. Like, you know what I mean? And Joe's like, no, I know exactly what he's talking about. And 2 days later, Joe is sending prototype pickups to Billy's guitar tech. Billy puts them in the guitar. 2 days after that, Billy goes, yep, done. And that's Naylor. That's why he does what he does. And the Watt story is similar, just way more drawn out. I mean,
how many years?
Because Mike is, about 5. Because Mike's a very busy guy. So we would get him a prototype of a bass. He would play it for a little while, and then he'd be off to Europe working with the band that he works with out of Italy or whatever. And we wouldn't see him or talk to him for a while, and then he'd come through and he'd tell Joe what he liked about it, and then we'd do something else, and then we wouldn't get the next thing to him for another 6 months, and then the whole thing. And Mike's funny because Mike has told this story in this room. He's like, we did this back and forth thing for a few years, and it was cute, and I thought you guys were really sweet. Like, you kept bringing me stuff, but I didn't think anything was ever going to come of it. And then one day we showed up with a bass, and he was playing for a guy. And it was at the little club in the front of the Magic Stick. And he was just on tour with the guy playing bass, and I can't remember who it was, but God, it was brilliant. Yeah. And we went to sound check, and we handed him the bass. He didn't even plug it in. He sat down on a bar stool and played a couple notes on it. He was like, I think we're onto something. But I'm like, he didn't even hear it. But he just knew because he's what. And then at that point, from there to the final product only took about 6 months. That one went pretty quick. Right. And now we do it. So that's what makes us different. It's not this like cookie cutter idea that, well, I'm going to put your name on this. What do you think of that? I mean, this is like, no. And we've done some fabulous guitars. We work with Reeves Gabrels of The Cure, and he is this guy who is just an absolutely monster player. Like, he was in Tin Machine with Bowie, and then he was Bowie's musical director for years, and he is known for all this sort of high gain thing, and he can do all that shredding thing. Yeah, he did a whole record with Ozzy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because Ozzy and your boy were fighting, and Zach they were fighting.
Oh, he ain't my boy.
They were fighting, and so he did a whole record with Ozzy, and then they made up. Yeah. And then Wild came in and replaced all of the guitar tracks. But this dude can hang and play with anybody. Yeah. And now he's playing lead guitar. He replaced Porl in The Cure. Yeah. And he's been playing in The Cure for the last 9 years. And then he wanted to do a version of his signature model that was more appropriate for what he was doing in The Cure, because his sound had sort of changed, and some of the tones that he was looking for were different than the guitars that we were building before then. So then his second signature model is the Space Hawk, and it is completely designed around that guy and what he plays in that band. And it is a beautiful guitar that has connected with tons of people. I mean, it's like a big Sensei. It's like a big semi-hollow sense. A really cool guitar.
So essentially, Joe was crafting a Cure guitar for Reeves.
Yeah, and it was amazing. I mean, I sat with him and watched him do it. And it was unreal. And then, of course, since then too, Joe also came up with the Railhammer pickups, which sort of revolutionized.
Does he sleep?
Passenger? Yeah.
Like, how many hours?
Lots of weed too. Lots of weed.
Lots of weed. How many hours a night you think that guy sleeps? It seems very
probably 12, but I think it starts at 4 in the morning and goes till 4 in the afternoon.
Ah, okay. So he's a night owl. Because to just be that adept at being able to, like, I don't even know how to fucking change my own oil, let alone like build something out of wood or like design. I mean, yeah.
You know what he knows how to do? He knows how to break guitars.
Yeah.
Yeah. We fixed a bunch of his guitars multiple times.
Well, tell that story real quick, because I kind of don't want to get into too many personal anecdotes, but this is a good one. So anyway, there's a drum riser, and I'm in Erie, Pennsylvania, and this drum riser was really tall for some reason. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to jump on top of this drum riser when I do my stupid power chord shit. And I missed. And then the head of the guitar, and this is the Flying B, it's called the Reverend Volcano. And I just smashed it on the drum riser, smashed the guitar head clean off. And then I jumped into the audience, and I'm a big dude. I'm always over 2 bills, so I decided to just throw the guitar down and just jump on all these young kids, and I probably hurt someone. But anyway, so but what's cool about Reverend Guitars and being a part of the Reverend Guitars family, because I've been repping this company, and we'll get into what you think an endorsement is. That's a question I want to ask you about your definition of an endorsement.
Oh shit.
Yeah. No, but this is good. Like, I don't
want to make people mad.
You're not going to make people mad.
All right.
Because it's the truth.
I'll be honest. Yeah.
It's like this is. I listen to this guy, Coach Greg. He's like, I tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
I like Coach Greg because of that. But anyway, long story short, I snapped the guitar head off, and because I'm a member of this family, I was able to come in, and Zach Green, who works in the back, is the absolute wizard with these fucking guitars. He fucking rebuilt it. It's like, we can rebuild it. And he did. Probably three times. Yeah. I think I broke the headstock off that guitar three times.
3 times. Yeah.
And the other thing I like about Ken is when I come in to get a setup or whatever, he'll always tell me how much of a fucking fat, sweaty scumbag I am because I melt the hardware with my sweat because I'm such a sweaty dude. So, and I appreciate that.
We usually dip his guitars in acid first before we do any work on them. Yeah. At least when you're on the road, that's all right. That's what look at my guitar, dude. It's horrible. I'm the same way. I'm speaking from experience.
It gives it character, but it does. Ken's great. I bring my guitars and he's like, "What do you do to these fucking things, you scum?" I like that.
Yeah, that's called working, which is way better than seeing them all being in pristine condition and hanging on somebody's wall.
Yeah.
Although I got to tell you, I appreciate both things.
Yeah, I mean, these are beautiful. These look like they're not getting worked that much.
Well, those are new.
But look at them.
Those are new, and they're from our summer NAMM display, and they are eye candy for events like this. And then they're going to go to the NAMM show with me in Nashville next month, and then I'm going to sell them to I'm going to sell them to a dealer in New York City. They're already all sold. Everything in the building is all sold. We're busy as fuck.
Yeah, they're killing it.
I've never been. It's crazy. It's fantastic.
The pan sandwich did not slow down fucking Reverend Guitars.
Yeah, the Panama
Canal.
The Panama Canal. It did this thing though for all of MI. I mean, all of us. The pedal companies just went through the roof because everybody had to have pedals and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then home recording gear and microphones. You can't get that. You can't buy that stuff. I mean, everybody's slammed, which is great. You go into a music store and you're like, are you guys... One of my guys works at Guitar Center in the afternoons. He says people come in there all the time and ask him if they're going out of business.
Yeah.
Because they don't have shit.
That's what it...
Yeah.
Because we just were in there. That's what it fucking looks like. You go in there, there's nothing on the walls. There's nothing in stock. They have very little employees. Yeah. And remember they used to... You go into Guitar Center, they used to have a door person.
Oh, yeah.
They got rid of the door person. They don't exist anymore. No more.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But
anyways, you were going to ask me another question that I'd love to answer.
Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, Ken right now is going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear about being an artist and getting what you call an endorsement. And I really like his take on this shit because it makes total fucking sense if you think about it. A, and B, people are always hitting me up. Yo, how do I get an endorsement? Yo, how do I get an endorsement? Why are you hitting me up? I mean, I have an Ernie Ball. Yeah, seriously. I have an Ernie Ball endorsement for strings. And then I have, I endorse Reverend Guitars. I endorse Reverend.
Nice.
Yeah. But Ken, explain this for humans that...
You just did.
But I will. I want you to explain.
I got it.
Let's get into it.
So we don't endorse anybody. People endorse us. That's the number one thing of it. Guys will like, and ladies, of course,
circles too.
Yeah, will send music to me and ask me what I think of it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I get so inundated with that stuff that I can't possibly listen to all of it. And sometimes I'm really honest with people, depending on the kind of mood I'm in. Dude, did you check out those WAV files I sent you? No. And it's not that I don't want to, it's just that, and like I said earlier, I'll go back to the whole studio thing. It's a matter of me having to prioritize my time in other places. And I can't make time to do that and do all the other things that I have to do. And the bottom line is, it doesn't matter what some company thinks about you and your art. Who gives a fuck? Like we're just dudes and women here at
Dudes.
Reverend, right? If Penny was here, Penny'd be like,
dudes. She's a dude. We're all dudes.
Yeah, we're all dudes. But it doesn't matter what a company thinks of what you do. So I don't like to say that I endorse specific things. People choose to play Reverend, therefore they're endorsing me. They could choose to play Fender or Ernie Ball, or there's a myriad of I used a big fancy word.
I like that.
There's a whole lot of great companies out there that build great guitars that you could be using that, but if you choose to use me, then you're endorsing me, not the other way around. So the question then becomes, what can we bring to the table for each other? Because I'm happy to bring something to the table, but what we hesitate to get involved in and what's hard to try to explain to somebody is there has to be some sort of mobility there in order to start the relationship to begin with. I mean, if you're a weekend warrior in a cover band, God bless you, because that is a hard way to make a living. And I have nothing but respect for people that do that. We have people that do that in the building. You know what I mean? And I have done that in the past. I lost a bartending job and played in a cover band that I didn't relish, but the money was good. I did it for a couple of years. It is what it is.
It's a gig.
That's the thing. Yeah. And that can be, people do that. Well, shit. I mean, not like the Polka Floyd show isn't a cover band. I play in a Pink Floyd tribute polka band, for fuck's sake. It's a cover band. We have our own spin on it and we have a lot of fun with it.
It's a unique spin.
But yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But what you have to, there has to be somebody looking at you so that there is a benefit to us working with you as well. You know what I mean? It has to run both ways. And people want to send me music and be like, well, if you like us, endorse us. And that's a difficult position to put us in. You know what I mean? And I like get embarrassed when I'm put in that position, because if you're not out there in front of people, there's nothing for me to do. And then the other embarrassing position that we get put in sometimes too, and I'm just floating it out, I'm just being honest, is
let it out.
Is a lot of time like the church guys. And again, much respect. I'm not gonna like degrade anybody's religious choices or any of those things that they do, but I mean, we get a lot of requests for people that want free stuff from me, and they're like, I do this, I play for this big church, and we have a broadcast that goes out to 10,000 people every Sunday or whatever. Well, how many of those 10,000 people play guitar? And dude, it sounds like a good gig, and if you're into it, that's great, and I don't begrudge you any of the things that you're doing. And some of those groups, we have like artist pricing deals that we set up and work with them on the side, because there are like associations all across the Southwest of these groups that all work together and stuff. I have no problems working with people or whatever.
Yeah.
But it puts you in a weird position sometimes if there's got to be something that comes back to us as well. You know what I mean? And people just think that it's, well, I'm going to get an endorsement from that person. And then they collect endorsements. They come to the trade shows and they're like, hey man, my name is so-and-so. And then you go on their website and they have like the logos from like 50 companies on their website. And it's like their goal is to just have all these logos on their website or something.
I know guys like that.
But that's different than like using a product. You know what I mean? And like I want to work with people that want to play our guitars because they want to play our guitars because they're cool, because they play great, because they sound great, because they want to be associated with us and the artists that we work with. Yeah. And they want to be a part of this whole family. You know what I mean? As opposed to somebody who's just like, well, I know so-and-so, so you should give me a guitar. It's like, oh, that doesn't work like that. You know, we have like a thing going on here, man. It's a movement, it's a revolution. It's the next wave.
It's a revolution, man.
Yeah. But I hope I explained that without being too much of a dick.
No,
I mean,
you were very diplomatic about it.
There's got to be like a give and take, and we love like working with bands. We just had this band in here last Friday called Sincere Engineer. They're out of Chicago. They're going out with Hot Mulligan. Are you familiar with Hot Mulligan, Michigan band? Great band.
I've heard of both bands.
We work with a lot of younger bands, and I love that shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it like gets me, I was so excited to have, like, as excited as you are to be doing this face-to-face shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I had a whole band in here last week, and when they started playing.
Were they plugged in?
Oh, fuck. Okay. Yeah, they were plugged in. We were running the Orange and the Rolla.
Can Downtown
and the
Brown
Aguilars, and the drums were set up right here, and we had 4 cameras on, and we did all this shit.
We don't have to talk about it now, but if you ever want Downtown Brown to do that, I would love to do that. But anyway.
And just like I've rehearsed, and the last gig I played was last September. I did 1 gig during the Panorama, just 1.
Yeah.
And it was an outdoor festival. It was really fun. But I mean, I hadn't seen another band play live since that gig. And I hadn't seen like one of our endorsing bands play live since before the Panama Canal. And so this, as soon as they started playing, this like first chord, I was in my office when they started sound checking, and I came in here, just all my hair was standing up on that. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. That's what I love about this. Yeah. Because there's this feeling I get that I can't, that I could never describe fully, but I close with this story all the time when I have to do like a presentation somewhere or whatever. This is my closer. And I'm not saying that we have to close. I'm just going to, I'm going early. I'm going early on my closer. When we launched the Mike Watt signature bass, we launched the NAMM show in Anaheim, and we had Mike play a show for us at the Slide Bar. You ever been to Slide Bar? What a fun fucking room that is.
I was there.
I hear that it might not survive the Pan American Airwaves. Airlines.
Damn.
Yeah, those guys, Jeremy from Lit, I think moved back to his hometown, and the bar hasn't been open the whole time, from what I understand.
Well, that's weird
because that place is awesome.
Yeah, because OC OC didn't give a fuck about the pan sandwich.
Really?
No,
Shit.
man. There was all those Trumpers in Huntington Beach and fucking like anti-maskers and whatnot.
A lot of the business is shut down now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess
anyways, we had Watt play our party, and after all the years of
that was 2017,
you got to understand,
right?
I'm a big fan.
That was 2017, right?
Must have been.
I was there.
Sounds about right.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
And I had played. Well, I didn't play, but I bet I saw Firehose 25 times.
Oh wow!
And I'm being that it was probably more. I had some buddies of mine were really into that band, and we would go see all the shows. Like we would go to Grand Rapids, Lansing, Detroit, Cleveland, or whenever they came on tour, we would like go see them, come back, go to work, get off work, fucking drive to wherever if they were within 2 hours, we were there. And I just love that band. And then Watt's one of these people that you aspire to be, that I aspire to be, that just never forgets anybody. And so when I went to see the Stooges, when he was playing bass for the Stooges, like he comes up to me backstage and he's like, "It's the Detroit San Pedro connection." Like, and I know I'm really big and goofy looking and so I'm memorable or whatever, but I just thought it was so fun. Like, dude, you're so fucking cool.
He is.
And anyway, we worked a long time on that signature model. And when we launched it at the NAMM show, we had him come do a signing in our booth in the afternoon. And not unlike Ashton from the Stooges, he was like, I mean, I'm not really sure who's going to show up for something like this. And then we do it, and then fucking people line up because he's a legend. Wow. You know what I mean? And it doesn't, and people think of the NAMM show and they think of like, Steve Vai and Paul Gilbert and Dave Mustaine. And, like they think of like all this shit, and they don't think that there's actually like, there's people in the fucking subculture
there's
that
some
prop all this shit up, man. There's punk rockers walking around in there, and it's awesome. And so it was amazing watching people interact with Mike in our booth. And then we did the show, and he opens the show with Joe McCarthy's Ghost, which is just like, and it was the organ trio doing it too, this old Minutemen song that's fucking jam.
That's the second man, right?
I'm like, yeah, I think he calls the band with the organ the second man.
That's the second man with the organ. And that we, our first date, Allie, we saw the second man.
Nice.
What do you know?
And then I introduce him, which is amazing in itself, because I'm like, I just can't believe that I'm sitting here with you. Sometimes I sit in my office and, like everything else in the world, sometimes shit, just no matter how passionate you are about it, it becomes widgets and you're like, fuck, I got to deal with this. And fuck, I got to deal with that. And then you forget, right? And so I'm at this show, and then I just had like the big reminder, like it hit me upside the head. And then for his second song, he played Forever One Reporter's Opinion, which is arguably my favorite song of all time. And as soon as he starts in on that bass line, I just burst into tears. Aww. I was like, fuck. Like, I can't believe I do that. Like, it just, like, shit, there's Mike Watt. And he's playing, like, it just, like, it just completely fucking overwhelmed me. And that is the thing. That is the reason why I'm here. And even like having Sincere Engineer in here the other day, like they're not some big world famous band or whatever. Oh, they're on their way. They're fucking great. Yeah. You know what I mean? But just seeing them play like, here's this really creative thing and these really talented people, and we're a part of that. Yeah. Like that fucking rules. You know what I mean? And it used to, before the Pan Am, we used to go to, go to the Warp tour, and there would be like 5 or 6 Reverend bands on every Warp tour, and I would always get to go, and I would get like Big D and the Kids Table or somebody to get me in and get me backstage.
Bad Cop, didn't you?
Bad Cop, or whatever.
I went to high school with Jenny.
And then Jenny's great. Yeah. And then we would go and just fucking hang out with all the Reverend bands all day and watch them all playing shit. And then, and then I get in these weird situations like I'm in a band now called Jay Navarro and the Traders, where when Jay had Break Anchor going, he started playing Reverend Guitars. And then he and I became friends, and now I play in his band. And I still, sometimes I'll be rehearsing with Jay, or we're doing the Supernova Ska Festival in Virginia this year or whatever. Yeah. And I'll be doing some big gig with him and be like, how did I get here? Like, what weird thing?
That's life. That's
like,
life.
What weird thing put me here? Which has got to be like you with Reagan Youth. That's got to be weird.
Well, can I do my really?
Yeah.
I'm going to do the very quick version. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the very quick version. Okay. 2011, I'm on tour with my band, Norwood Fisher of Fishbone. He comes up to me after the show and he goes, "I'm down with Downtown Brown." Next thing I know, 2012, signed a management deal with Norwood Fisher. Started touring with Fishbone all the time. Toured with the band Psycho Stick all the time. We became a nationally touring band, and we were like always on the road. And then that turned into me living in LA. That turned into me fucking meeting this girl who's holding the camera right now. And then now we have a fucking house. And then I'm tour managing for Reagan Youth. Their guitar player falls ill. I play the guitar. I don't know any of the songs. Next thing I know, I'm singing for Reagan Youth last weekend in New York City. As soon as Como lifts the mask mandate and everybody's breathing and smelling and kissing on each other. And I wanted to bring that up about the live music thing because I forgot, Ken. I forgot because this whole last year during the Panama Canal, Pan Sandwich, whatever, I'm streaming on Twitch. I'm streaming on Facebook Live. I'm streaming on fucking YouTube. And I forgot what it's like to be in front of people doing the thing that makes me feel the most alive. Mm-hmm. And last weekend, I got to fucking do that shit. And I look at Allie and I'm like, my ears ringing. I feel like I got hit by a freight truck. We broke the fucking PA. On accident. This kid lent us the PA and we broke it. But he was cool. I'm like, hey, we're going to do a GoFundMe for you. He's like, no, fuck it. And then he starts breaking the PA some more. And I'm like, this kid's cool as shit. Everyone's having a fucking blast. And I'm like, this is why this is me. This is what I want to be doing. And I forgot because the whole last year I've just been like, hey, talking to a bunch of fucking digital ones and zeros in a chat. That's not rock and roll. Rock and roll is getting up in front of people and spitting on them. And I think we might be able to do that soon. So anyway.
Oh, it's happening. It's on. You're going out in the fall, right? I'm going out in the fall a bunch of times.
I'm busy. I have so many offers, and then we might be doing a full run, but I'm still waiting on the green light in nice. September. But so many bands are going on tour in December. It's like everyone's just like, it's time.
Yeah, it's time.
Yeah,
but it is time. It's fucking time. I'll lick your fucking eyeball right now, dude. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm vaccinated, so let's kiss.
Yeah. Yeah, no, back to the live thing. It got awkward there for a second. No, as we thought about it, we both pictured it. You could tell we were picturing it.
I mean, you got some facial hair. I got some stubble. It would be a little messy. I'm sweating a little bit, so yeah. I'm
with you on the live thing because I don't record well. Yeah, the Traders are working on our second record. The Zimmerman Twins just put out a brilliant fucking record that those guys. I would sit here and say we worked really hard on it. We didn't. Those guys worked really hard on it.
Right.
I go into the studio and I just don't, you know how some people like the recording studio is like their life, like they fucking get it. And then they want to sit down and I'll never forget this. My, years ago, I very briefly played in a band called the Generals in Detroit. Mm-hmm. And their drummer, Matt Washburn, when they recorded their record, you could see him change. Like, I'll never forget the way he reacted to being in the studio. And when they sat down to get like drum sounds with him, how he got more into it than a human being should. And now he owns his own studio in Atlanta. I wish I could think of what it's called, but he does well. And I have endorsers that every once in a while he'll call me and be like, dude, such and such band that you worked with is in here. And I'll be like, fuck, man, that's awesome. You know, and he's like, every time I see a Reverend, I think of you and it makes me happy. And I'm like, and every time I hear about you, it makes me happy because that was 30 years ago that we did this. And I remember him getting a CD and coming to me and it said on the back of the CD, ADD, analog, digital. And because they mixed it digitally. And that was when you did digital mixing on VHS tapes and shit. But he was so into he just knew it and got it. And I see people like that all the time now. That's not me. I want to go into the studio and play my parts and go home.
Right.
You know, and so when's the next show?
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
And to me, like putting out records and it's great as far as like the songwriting process goes and getting songs really, really tight and thinking about how you want to record them and who's going to do what parts and arrangement and all of that kind of stuff. And then getting stuff ready to record is a lot of fun. The actual recording of it itself, I want to get in and out of there as fast as humanly possible. And then,
Yeah.
and then I can't sit and do mixes. I can't sit and listen to the same thing over and over again. I just can't do it.
It's tedious.
I want to go play live.
Yeah.
And as a result, a lot of times bands put out records and then I hear the record and I go, oh, fuck, I wouldn't have done that. And then I'm like, well, you know what? I need to shut the fuck up because I'm not the guy that sat there and listened to it 40 times. You know what I mean?
Right.
So whatever. So I kind of remove myself from that situation so then I can't be critical of them after. But all of that being said, it is all about playing live for me. And I can't wait. I've got gigs next week. I'm playing an outdoor festival with the Polka Floyd Show on Sunday. And we haven't played in 6 months. And so I think we might actually rehearse, which is weird because we've been playing the same songs for 15 years.
Yeah, what's that like?
I know.
Rehearsing,
and
what's
then,
that like?
And then the Zimmerman twins are playing at the Village Idiot down in Maumee.
Now you do pedal steel for them, right?
It's not a pedal, it's a console. There's no pedals. There's no pedals and no knee levers. So it's just 16 strings and 2 sets of 8 bolted to the top of a piece of wood. And if you want to bend strings, you have to do it behind the slide with your fingers. There's no knees or levers to change the tunings or anything. It's old school. The actual pedal steel didn't really evolve until Showbud evolved it in the late 50s. And then everybody jumped on board. And now, of course, that's the standard. So the old steel guitars that don't have the pedals and the levers are kind of an oddity. And
that's
it's
what
a
you
fun.
do.
It's a fun thing to play in a rock band.
Hell yeah.
You know, and I do that and a little guitar on that too. And I play a little bit of the steel and the Polka Floyd thing on the songs where it's appropriate, where Gilmore did that shit too. And I enjoy it. And the Traders, I just play guitar.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we should probably go about another 15 minutes. So what do you want to talk about now? What's next? Because we covered a lot.
Jesus.
How did you meet Jay Navarro?
Oh, this is a great story.
Yeah.
You don't know this story?
No.
Well, he got some reverends and to use in Break Anchor, and then he was in a band called Left in Ruin as well. Do you remember that? Some
I know Jeff.
Metal band, yeah. And
Jeff plays in Hellmouth too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was when he got Volcano, and then he's got some senseis and some other stuff from us. And then he and I were hanging around, and we were shooting the shit about something, and we did this really funny thing for Guitar World magazine back in 2011 or 12, where we had just launched a model called the Tricky Gomez, which is this cool sort of double cutaway, semi-hollow guitar. And we made up the whole Tricky Gomez like persona. We just made up a guy, made a whole fictional story out of it, called it a signature model, told the story to Guitar World. They pressed it. It was funny. And the Guitar World came to town and they did like a 4-piece segment on us and what we do here at Reverend and working with local people. And they wanted to talk to an artist. And so we had that be Jay because he's Jay and he's a fun interview and he's a local Detroit area music legend guy.
Absolutely.
He's that guy, you know? And so we started hanging out at that and we realized we just had a ton of shit in common. And so we decided, we bonded over our mutual love of the first Dag Nasty record. And we did a tribute show where at Smalls where we played, we never even named the band, but we played Dag Nasty's first record in order from beginning to end.
Oh,
and
wow.
we did Another Wrong Part 2 as an encore, which was released later, but Smalley also sang on it. Great song. And Jay sang lead vocals. Jason Bowes from the Culture Bandits and Jeremy Porter and the Tucos, and you know Jason, redhead guy, you'd know him if you saw him.
If I saw him,
he played bass. Rich from the Suicide Machines played drums.
Okay.
And I played guitar. And I learned how to play guitar playing along with that record. When that record came out in 86, because I'm old. But my 16-year-old me, that record changed things for me.
Absolutely.
I love that record. And that's another one of those things. Like we worked, Dave Smalley, went on to be in All and Down by Law we work with him now, and he's got a bunch of reverends.
He's
a
all
hell
over
of a
the
great
place.
guy.
He's
Yeah.
all over the place.
I just did this really super sidebar. There's this great band out of Houston, Texas called Just Like Them, or maybe they're out of Dallas, Texas. Yeah.
Somewhere. It's a big state.
But this band is called Just Like Them.
Yeah.
And they do, during the Pan Am Airways, they did, they started doing Descendants covers with special guests.
Okay.
And they call themselves a Descendants and all tribute band.
Right.
And the guys that play in the band are pretty good. And drummer's good. I mean, Bill Stevenson's a little tough to.
Yeah, it's hard to really nail Bill Stevenson.
But they do a great job. So then they started getting like noticed, and it grew to the point where Milo sang Just Perfect.
Okay.
With them. So
Yeah.
Milo did an all song.
Amazing,
and then I'm friends with Brad, one of the guys in that band.
Yeah.
And he's got a bunch of reverends and stuff, and they're always using reverends on there. And then they had Stefan come down and do something with him, and he sent me pictures of Stefan playing his Charger, and I was like, holy shit, that's cool. And I know Stefan.
Yeah.
I have one of his guitars around here, and I love those fucking guys. And anyways, after I saw Milo do Just Perfect, I'm like, well, we got to get Smalley to do Coolidge, because how fun would that be to have those guys do each other's songs?
Do a cool little switch.
And then it ended up with them doing Coolidge, and I played the solo and shot it right here.
Is that on
And
YouTube?
not yet.
Oh, I want to see that.
It's coming soon, because Smalley just got the vocals in. So
Yeah,
it hasn't been mixed and shit yet.
Dave Smalley singing The Descendants. That's
Yeah,
that's
right. It's
something.
fun. Yeah, it's a totally fun thing. So I was pretty excited to take part in all that. But anyway, so Navarro and I bonded over our love for all of this shit and ended up doing the Stag Nasty tribute band together. And we just did the one show, and we had a blast doing it, because I love that shit. And and then he came to see the Polka Floyd thing, and the Polka Floyd thing is goofy and it's fun and it's loud and it's obnoxious. But I mean, basically, we transformed all of the Pink Floyd music into like a 2/4 polka jump beat or 3/4 waltz.
You're doing a lot of upstrokes,
and it works. Yeah, kinda. I do like a thumb and finger rhythm thing.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? That's almost like it's more like a rockabilly thing than it is a ska thing.
Okay.
But he saw that and he was like, I'm starting this new band, and I want you to be the lead guy. And I was like, shit, yeah, okay. And he like picked a few guys from around the local area that he liked, and we got Steve Catch on trombone from that was in Telegraph, and the drummer Jason Milbauer's in Bad Assets, and
is Eric Abbey in it?
And Eric Abbey plays. It's he and Eric Abbey's band. I mean, they're like the guys that sort of they got together and had the idea for the band, and then figured out who they wanted to play with them. So the band is within one song does traditional ska and reggae rhythms, and then like the punk ska thing that Navarro is known for, and it goes back and forth. So we can be softer and more traditional in that realm of music than any band that Jay's ever been in before. But we also can go the polar opposite. I think the idea was to have it be more one thing, and then now that we've been doing
it's everything.
Now it's everything.
Yeah, that's good though.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's fun. Yeah, we're doing something really weird now. It's great.
You got to think about all the musical influences that all of y'all draw from, being who you are, being who Ken Haas is, and then Jay being who Jay is, and then Eric Abbey, who I went to high school with.
God
and
damn, that's weird.
Get this. Get this.
Yeah.
He took my sister to the prom in 94 or 95.
That's hilarious.
Because my sister played trumpet, get this, in the Northville High School marching band, and she was a couple years younger than Eric. And Eric, being a little bit older, asked my fucking sister to the prom.
I didn't know you went to Northville High School.
He went to Northville High School. It's all connected, Ken.
That's weird. So, of course, you would have, because that's where you met Jenny. So I used to hang out. I grew up in Northville. I didn't go to Northville High School, but I did grow up out in those Detroit western suburbs.
It was way different back then.
Oh, it was even more different
than when I was running around.
10 years before then,
yeah.
It was way different. But there was a great band out of Northville High School called Burnt Weenie Sandwich. They were named after the Zappa record, but they did this crazy like Minutemen meets prog rock thing.
Did they release anything?
it would be impossible to find.
Damn it.
But they're one of the reasons why I play. I mean, they're like, and I took that guy's sister to prom.
Dude, everyone's taking everyone's sister to prom, bro.
Yeah, man.
So Kurt
Cetino, the bass player, was the bass player for Grand Falloon. I don't know if you remember them.
No.
They were like an early 90s Detroit thing, and they were they were super cool. And then, I don't know why I thought it was Northville always makes me think of them.
So wait, you lived in Northville?
Yeah. My first job was at the Novi Hilton.
My first job was at Guernsey in Novi.
Yeah, Jason Bowes, my bass player, worked at Guernsey for a while.
Dude!
Yeah.
And right now are we in Toledo or Sylvania?
Yeah, I was on the other side of 275 at 8 Mile and Halstead, Newburgh area.
Okay,
I was
by
over
the
there.
McDonald's.
So the house was technically in Farmington Hills, but it had like a Northville mailing address or some shit like that.
Yeah, I was 8 Mile and Taft. That's why it's funny before she came out here to visit me, she's like, "Oh, are we gonna go by 8 Mile?" I'm like, I used to live off of 8 Mile, but I lived off of 8 Mile.
Yeah.
In the mega white, super white burbs. Yeah. But yeah, 8 Mile nonetheless. So
did you know that if you were to draw a line from 8 Mile, that it's the border between Illinois and Wisconsin?
No way, really?
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Oh wow. So you just go right across.
Random 8 Mile fact.
You go right across the lake and the line keeps going and that's the border.
Yeah.
Dude, you just blew my mind, bro. What damn?
Learn something new every day.
I mean, when you hang out with intelligent, seasoned human beings that have been places and done things, you do learn. I did learn. I learned something today. I learned about Reverend, and this was great. I think we don't have to make this long because I know you're a very busy guy. We're at 55 minutes, but god damn it, it feels good to fucking be in a place. Because that's the thing. When you do these Zoom interviews, there's the exchange.
Yeah.
It's not like having a real conversation because as soon as you start talking, the other person has to it fucks them up. Like I can listen to you talk and just throw yas in there and it didn't fuck up your cadence.
No.
But when you do Zoom, it's like, because they hear you through the headphones. It's a weird exchange. I love this. I fucking love this. I did a lot of Zoom shit over the course of the last year and a half. Oh God.
Yeah. And I mean, it was fun. I was glad to do something. You know what I mean? I want to be a part of shit. And like I said, we sit here every week and Penny and I come up with something to talk about every week. And coming up with something to talk about every week is a challenge within itself.
Oh yeah.
I mean, even in this environment, which can be really exciting. I mean, we do some. There's always something. There's always something happening here. It's weird. And it doesn't always amount to anything, you know what I mean? But sometimes like interesting things happen. I sold a guitar to Billy Joe Armstrong yesterday.
Well, there you go.
I don't know if I'll ever hear from him ever again.
Doesn't matter.
But you know what's cool? They wanted to pay for it.
Full price?
I mean, our price or whatever, which is fine. But but a lot of times I always find that too. There's
$1,200.
Here's this other weird. Here's another weird, like sort of behind the scenes thing. Like typically people who have made it to a certain level want to support small businesses.
Well, if they're cool,
right? Yeah. Totally. But the funny thing is, and then of course people that are slugging away at it on our level are like, yeah, man, of course I don't want. You know what I mean? Like you do what you do, right, in order to get by. But it's people on their way up and on their way down that are like the most difficult to deal with. Yeah. And because they're like, if they're on their way up, then they expect, well, all this is happening.
That's lame.
Everybody else is throwing, but it's learned behavior because people throw shit at them. Yeah. You know what I mean? I get it. I'm not begrudging anybody or anything. Right. I play by the rules. It's totally fine. It's people that are on their way down that are fucking hilarious.
Don't you know who I am?
Yes. Yeah. You wouldn't believe it. I've heard some funny shit.
You wouldn't be here.
I was the original singer for Great White, and I'm going back out on the road next year.
What?
Man.
The band that burned a bunch of people alive. So
anyway, I didn't mean to call out Great White by name. I'm sorry.
Anyways, yeah, we'll omit that, or maybe we won't.
We all have some great. Do you know who I am? Stories. And the answer is always no. So what does that tell you?
That hurts. Do you know who I am? No.
I'm never embarrassed, Right. I mean, I'm kind of plugged in, I used to be embarrassed when people be like, should I know who you are? And now I'm like, nah.
There's too many people. There's too much going on. You only have one brain, and we're all trying to.
And we're talking about the Pan American too. I want to tell you, last month I went to the Dallas Guitar Show. Like there was a full-on guitar show last month in Texas.
Texas don't give a fuck.
They don't. Yeah. They don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
and
or
we
Florida.
Went, and we went. Penny and I were ready, and we sick of doing shit, and we're sick of not doing shit.
Right.
And so we just we're going to go to this show. We're going to support my buddy Jimmy Wallace has been doing a guitar show in Texas since the beginning of time.
Right.
And since before there were guitars, he was having a guitar show. It's crazy. And he had the show in the Dallas Market Hall, and we were all like, this is going to be weird. And, what's this going to be like? And are they going to enforce the mask thing at the Market Hall? And then of course it's Texas. So you're like, and this was, people were getting vaccinated and stuff, but this was it was May 1st, so it was still it was still a little weird here. Now everything seems to be kind of normal here. Getting there anyway, right?
Right.
And we went, and everybody was cool. I did the scarf mask thing the whole time. I never did the face thing. I did the thing, and I had it around my neck. And the first guy that walked into my booth was like, "This is Texas, son. You don't need that." And I was like, okay, and then I thought to myself, I don't want to talk about masks the whole time. I came here to talk about guitars and shit. He was the only dude that ever said anything. And Penny and I just worked the booth. And if people came into the booth wearing masks, looking at guitars, we pulled our masks up and talked to them because that's what made them happy. And if they didn't, we were comfortable. So we pulled it down and talked to them or whatever. And I just, why be dicks?
That's a good question.
Right? I mean, that's the thing. So we just went, and it was great. And there were no big issues that stemmed from them having that show or any of that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I think that went a long way for us to be like, okay, well now we're just, we're going to go to NAMM and do that shit. And I'm playing gigs and
When's
we're
NAMM?
Just doing shit. Thursday and Friday, July 14th and 15th.
And that's Nashville?
That's Nashville.
Okay.
It's kind of a weird thing to go to because our production is completely sold out for 2021.
Oh shit.
If you wanted to buy something from me, we're into next year.
Wow.
I've never been in a
That's
position.
a good problem to have.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. And we're going just to be team player. I feel about the NAMM show the same way I felt about the Dallas Guitar Show. I want to do shit. So I'm going to support our industry as a whole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Be seen.
I feel weird if dealers come up and they're like, we want to be a Reverend dealer, I'd be like, I really want you to be a Reverend dealer, but I don't have any product to sell you until next year. But let me get all of your information. Yeah. And when things start to free up, we're going to get back with you. My sales manager here, Zach Ward, had a great, we're going to take advantage of this opportunity to really try to sell some pickups because we open up dealers for the Railhammer pickups, even outside of the Reverend thing. Because you can buy them outside of the guitars, you know what I mean? Right. So we really want to go and we're going to push that on this thing, which is a great idea. And so we have stuff to talk about, but be seen. I just want to be there. I want to be a part of it. And so many companies aren't going, and it's but at some point we all have to decide, like you said about all the bands going on tour in the fall. At some point, everybody has to go, all right, we're going to go do this. You know what I mean? And because this is not, I'm not going to do this shit on Zoom for the rest of my life.
I mean, what did your brother say, who was a doctor, Allie?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I just said, to the extent of we have to keep going and doing stuff, but use your best judgment.
Yeah, of course.
Didn't he say you have to start living again sometime?
Yeah. He said you have to start living again sometime, but also use your best judgment.
There you go. And that motherfucker is a medical professional.
Doctor.
Yeah, so I'm going to listen to that guy.
Yeah, man. So it's on. We got work to do, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And
there's music to be made.
And it feels good because, dude, I tell you what, sitting around and watching Netflix got old real quick, and I kind of lost my mind. So
yeah, and I mean, just everybody.
You got this company to run, but there was a time there where I was literally pulling whatever hair I have left out of my head out, and Well, I'll be there. I'll be there, man. Don't worry.
I love it when guys with full heads of hair are like, or worse yet, like the guys in my building that they shave it on the sides but grow the top out. And I just take that as a personal affront. What you're saying to me, if you shave the sides and grow the top long, what you're saying as you walk around is fuck Ken. That's what you're saying.
That's exactly what they're saying. That's
it is.
That is the impetus behind their decision to do that.
Yes.
Oh, what a bunch of
jerks.
Yeah, so insensitive.
I know, right?
Okay, well,
Hey, it was great to be here. It was great to see you, and it was great to be seen. And I want you to know how much we appreciate you waving the flag as high as you do. And we are here for you. We got your back. Anything that you have coming up that you want us to support, we will support. Your guitars need to be set up. You know where to find us. You know we got your back.
This is family.
We love you.
Reverend Guitars is family.
It's family.
And I love you, brother. And
I'll lick your fucking eyeball right now.
Let's get it. Let's do it on camera. This is HD. We're shooting in 1080p. But anything else you want to add before we conclude this in-person SUPcast number 62? This is episode number 62, and it's in person. The pan sandwich is winding down. It's time to get back to work.
It is.
Ken Haas, Reverend Guitars.
Thanks for having me. That's all. That's all I got to add.
Nothing else?
Thanks for coming. Good to see you.
Good to be
Good
here.
to see you. Good to be seen.
Fuck yeah.
See you on a stage.
Yeah, I'll see you there. All right, that's it. We're done. Thank you, Allie.
Thank you, Allie.
Yeah. Maybe